The Delaware judge can rule that the vote to move to Texas was invalid. Warren used to be a lawyer and he is still a massive Tesla bull. 80% of his portfolio, I think he said, is still in Tesla stock. So he's not trying to create FUD just for the sake of creating FUD. He says, I'm seeing a lot of people comment incorrectly on the Delaware court case. The Delaware judge still has jurisdiction over this case and the recent shareholder votes. Tesla was a Delaware corporation leading up to and including the vote. She might reject the recent shareholder vote entirely? That would be some insane abuse of power. Now, overturning the first shareholder vote, that was crazy enough. But overturning it again? Preventing the corporation to move from your state to another state? That would be insane. Does she want to inspire a revolution against her? Anyway, I personally don't think it will happen, but Warren continues, what I expect to happen is Tesla will make a motion for her to reconsider her previous ruling and effectively affirm both the compensation package and the move to Texas. It could take several months or longer if she agrees to reconsider. I think she will do the right thing, but I'm not confident of that. If she again rejects shareholder democracy, Tesla will appeal. Such a rejection would do massive harm to Delaware. There's already so much damage, but that would just take it to the next level. I mean, you can make some arguments that during the first shareholder vote, okay, maybe some people were not informed, but of course we were fully informed because the vote turned out the same the second time. And now the second time we added all of the disclosures that the court wanted to. So if it doesn't go through, that will make no sense. We did exactly what you asked us to do and you're still saying no. That would be crazy. And then only fools would incorporate in Delaware and others will try to leave as soon as possible. However, Warren adds a disclaimer, of course, not my area of law, not my state, just my read of how things work. However, moves are being made and the Texas Secretary of State says, welcome to Texas, Tesla. I'm proud to sign the papers bringing the company's incorporation to the Lone Star State. Let's read the full statement because this is important. Certificates of conversion are filed in various instances such as converting from one type of business to another or converting from an out-of-state entity to a Texas entity. In the case of Tesla, their certificate of conversion is the document converting Tesla from a Delaware corporation to a Texas corporation. So it seems like everything on the side of Texas has been pretty much done now. Now it would only be a problem if the judge says, no, I don't approve of this second shareholder vote for you to move from Delaware, the state that will make your company miserable, to Texas, where you are welcome. Anyway, it's pretty clear that Elon is in touch with the governor of Texas, and that's probably why things have moved so quickly. By the way, I'm actually going to visit Texas later this year. Stephen Van Ryn is making some sense here. It's a perfect setup. Number one, Tesla stock is down 55% from the all-time high. Musk compensation package has just got ratified. Tesla is on a cusp of autonomy, and no one believes it, except largely those people that actually have experienced FSD in their vehicles, as well as some Tesla retail investors. New compensation plan incentivizing insane long-term performance will likely be proposed and approved soon. Musk will go after the carrot at max speed, and shareholders will win big. Hao Lin, who is probably the second most important person Tesla in China after Tom Zhu, she says Tesla will be the most valuable company in the world. It's definitely great to see this excitement. Currently, it's so easy to figure out who exactly is a long-term Tesla stock investor and who focuses more on the short term. For example, James here is not exactly thrilled that Elon made all of these big comments and the stock didn't exactly pop. However, keep in mind that the moment we found out that Elon's compensation package and the move to Texas, that both of these have been approved, Tesla stock immediately jumped 6%. If that wasn't approved, there would have been a lot of doubts and questions about Elon's future commitment to Tesla. Would he stay as CEO? Would he resign as a CEO and just stay at Tesla, sort of like a product development figure? Would he be active at all within Tesla? Maybe he would just quit entirely. There was so much going on. So I think if Elon's compensation package was not reapproved, I think Tesla stock would have dropped 10%, maybe quite a bit more, maybe 15% in a day, which then could have created this cycle of shorting Tesla stock because it just dropped quite a bit, and the more you short, the more pressure you put on the stock to go down, which then makes the stock go down more, which then gets more people shorting Tesla, creates more FUD around Tesla. Some freak out and just sell their Tesla stock holdings, and then it wouldn't have been just people that trade Tesla stock selling selling Tesla stock. We would have had some long-time bulls sell Tesla stock as well, like Jason DeBalt. So it would have been pretty serious, but we have avoided that entirely. I think this is greatly exaggerated, but James does have a point. Investing in Tesla stock comes down to one question: do you trust Elon Musk? This is also exaggerated, but there's definitely a point here. It comes down to one question: are you a moron? I believe Tesla will solve FSD with Elon Musk or without Elon Musk. But with Elon, it's just going to be faster. And this is a lot like 2010, 2011, 2012, early days of Tesla, where you had to watch Elon tell everyone to grow food themselves. And it's also a lot like this 6.5-year period where Tesla basically actually went down. I mean, if you bought right here and then you sold here, you lost money. And some people actually did that. And I bought Tesla stock in early 2019. And I remember right before that summer, around that summer, Morgan Stanley coming out with that split adjusted 66-cent price target in their bear case. Things sounded really bad. And yet I was a Tesla stock investor. While people were selling and freaking out, I said, no, I think there's a huge opportunity here and people are not seeing it because they are thinking with their emotions and not their brains. Well, they are thinking with their brains, hijacked by emotion. And one thing that I can definitely 100% promise to you is that we will see that again. We will go through some very difficult times and people will be freaking out, and that's just what being a Tesla stock investor is. You go through these big periods of extreme uncertainty, but then I come back to the fundamentals and I look at Tesla's data advantage and Tesla's fleet and Tesla's engineers, and we got Elon Musk, and I just cannot see why Tesla would not solve full self-driving. I mean, I drive my car on FSD and anywhere I go, as long as I'm in the car by myself, because sometimes it does do silly things, and if I'm with a passenger, it makes them a bit uncomfortable unless they are largely familiar with FSD. But if I'm driving by myself right now, I always turn FSD on with very few exceptions, and it will only get better. And I like to try technology when something comes out for the first time. I try it, but then I rarely actually use it until it actually becomes really good. And FSD now, I'm actually using it, and it's only going to get better. Tesla has the largest fleet by far, which means Tesla has by far the most data. And you need that large fleet because you need to run the new FSD model in the shadow mode. If you don't have a huge fleet, you won't know that it's actually better until years pass by. Tesla has insane compute right now with NVIDIA chips and a little bit of Dojo as well. So it can do AI training better than any other company that's trying to solve FSD. All other solutions to FSD involve some sort of HD maps or LiDAR, and that is just not going to scale. It's too hard, it's too expensive, there are too many problems with it. And even if you do successfully solve it and scale it to some degree, the moment Tesla can deploy robotaxis, it will undercut any LiDAR system and HD map system with price, making it basically useless. Now, if I lived in California, I would be a bit more skeptical and a bit more careful because Tesla has engineers obviously in San Francisco. So in San Francisco, I think it just obviously works better. But I'm in Canada. I'm not even in the US, and yet it works fairly well. It of course does many silly things from time to time, which for me is mostly number one, random lane changes for no good reason, which I think can definitely be solved. I don't think that's a big issue in the long term that Tesla cannot solve. I think should be fairly simple later on. Right now, I think Tesla is more focused on safety and not so much on, okay, let's not do anything that's a bit silly, but it's harmless. The focus right now is on safety and it makes sense. My next issue is stop signs. So you do 2 stops basically at each stop sign, one where the line is and then one where you actually need to stop. So that's quite annoying. I just press on the accelerator pedal. So I have basically just 1 stop. And then my final big annoyance is lane selection, where you have, let's say, 4 lanes and you need to be in a certain lane, a very specific lane to make your turn. Sometimes it picks the right lane at the last moment. You eliminate these 3 issues and then my only sole focus is going to be to make sure that the car is not crashing. And I would never need to think about, oh, do I need to change the lane here? What's happening here? Driving would just be much easier, which by the way already is if you use FSD, except downtown during during the rush hour. So with how things are going, to me, it seems inevitable that FSD is going to be safer than human driving. It's just a matter of time. So it is just a matter of time which company is going to be the first one to scale. And I believe it's clearly Tesla. Just like how I believed back in 2019, EVs are the future. Okay, if that's the case, which company is going to capitalize on this the most? Tesla. So to me, holding Tesla right now compared to 2019, there are of course differences, but really very, 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 very fundamentally, the way I think about Tesla, it's not really that different, except it sort of is. You see, we have so many backup plans with Tesla. There's the energy business, which by the way, has higher profit margins than the auto business right now. And that's before Tesla starts manufacturing their own cells, which Tesla believes are going to be more competitive than the supplier cells. The energy business is going to grow 200 to 300% year over year in 2024. If you listen to the bears, they would have told you, oh, the energy business, it's sort of plateaued. It's not going to grow much anymore. And right now, Tesla's energy business, looking at the revenue, is not really a big piece of Tesla. But when you grow 200, 300% year over year, that can change quickly. If it wasn't for FSD's potential that I see in Tesla, I would have sold Tesla stock already. In 2022, August 15th, then Tesla stock was split adjusted at $300. I was saying basically sell now or years later. So I see lots of potential in Tesla stock and I'm staying in Tesla stock. Now, specifically about this Delaware case, what is exactly going to happen? The specific steps. Here's how it's going to play out. Lawyers will go back to the judge next week and inform her there's been a material change in circumstances and ask the judge to restore Elon's 2018 compensation plan. She will schedule a hearing with pleadings and then decide at some future date, likely before July 8th, hearing to decide plaintiff's attorney's fees, whether to restore or reject Elon's compensation plan. Now, if she rejects it again, Tesla will appeal the decision to the Supreme Court and cite both votes of overwhelming approval by Tesla shareholders as grounds for reversal. Some of the reporting about this issue has been quite incredible. Tesla shareholders will have no one to blame if things go south. A solid majority has said that they are fine with giving Elon Musk, pay attention now, his shares. So they acknowledge the shares are Elon's. And yet they somehow say that giving his shares to him is a bad idea. Also, we definitely want to go south to Texas. I've seen quite a few takes like this one. I'm not surprised at all to see Tesla stock falling and Nvidia continuing their rise. It just makes sense. The Tesla Investor Day yesterday was a poor spectacle to watch. A barrage of insane predictions from the CEO, with Elon's fan shareholders asking irrelevant questions mostly about those predictions as if they were a sure thing. Insane predictions like we're going to land and reuse orbital rocket boosters. Okay, now we will recover 2 boosters at the same time after putting my car into a trans-Martian orbit. We're going to launch the largest and most powerful rocket ever and bring back not just the first stage, but also the second stage from orbit. And then you have to go back to 2004 and think about electrification and how no EVs existed. And yet we're going to build an EV that will be the best-selling car in the world. We're going to build a pickup that's faster than a Porsche. We're going to build a semi with 500 miles of range. And we're going to make a brain implant that will restore function to paralyzed people. Each one of these is becoming our reality. FSD that's safer than human driving is going to be on that list as well. Where many people make a mistake is put a specific timeline that Elon gives to us, which he usually is wrong about. But eventually he does deliver. The community is going hard after people that voted yes earlier but no in 2024. Farzad agrees that these people deserve the title of scumbag. Congratulations on being proud in being an untrustworthy piece of poop. I think they are talking about Ross Gerber and Cogwin Leo specifically. And on August 31st, we will find out exactly how all the fund managers voted. We are getting some news from Europe. You know that Europe is going to put some tariffs on Chinese vehicles that are coming into Europe. But Norway's finance minister has refused to introduce tariffs on Chinese vehicles. Now, Norway is not a part of the European Union technically, so they do have more autonomy, but still this is a good thing for Tesla, specifically for Tesla's Model 3 for the time being. But I have been thinking about this. In the long term, I think these tariffs actually help Tesla because Tesla will build up its manufacturing more in Europe, and Tesla already has a factory there, whereas the Chinese companies, do they have big factories in Europe right now already? And do they really want to invest in Europe to build factories? With all of these geopolitical tensions rising, I mean, the relations between the US and China are not exactly the best. And when given a choice to choose China or the US, I think Europe would go with the US. And I'm pretty sure China is very well aware of that. So while in the short term, if tariffs are indeed imposed on all Chinese vehicles, including the Model 3, and by the way, we already had tariffs, it's just that they are going to be increased. But in the long term, specifically for Tesla, this is not necessarily a bad thing. And in the meantime, if the tariffs are really, really high, Tesla can just export the Model 3 from the US into Europe. It's inefficient, but for the time being, Tesla could get away with it. But Chinese companies, they don't just have factories in the US or outside of China, generally speaking. So they don't have that option, and Tesla's biggest competitors, I believe, for EVs will come basically mostly from China. So these tariffs on Chinese vehicles will accelerate Tesla's investment into Europe, assuming that Tesla will need to pay higher tariffs on vehicles from China, which does seem to be the case. We will have the final decision very soon, I think in July. But at this point, it's pretty certain that the tariffs are going to be higher for Tesla as well. In the meantime, GM's Wuling launches a new $8,000 bingo EV in China, undercutting BYD's Seagull. Safety standards are nowhere near as strict in China as they are in the US or Europe, so that's why the prices are so much lower. But it is incredible to get a car for $8,000 that does have 4 doors. Wow. It doesn't have much range though. It's the LTC range, so I doubt that you will even get 100 miles, but a model with higher range is also available, which is fairly decent for city driving. But for that higher range, you will pay $12,000 instead of $8,000. I do want cheaper EV options because I don't like taking walks outside and then a gas guzzler just drives by me and stinks up the whole street, leaving me suffocating. But every time a Tesla drives by, I smell the future. That's it for today's video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and to all my Patreons, thank you so much for your support. By joining Patreon, you will have access to all of my exclusive videos on Patreon, as well as how much I am willing to pay for each Tesla share between 2024 and 2033. If you join the investor tier, you will also have access to my valuation model, where you will see all of my assumptions, including deliveries, the energy business, Tesla's future businesses like FSD, and of course much more. And then if you want to easily download that and put in your own numbers, then this third tier is for you. To all of my Patreon supporters, thank you so much. Make sure to like the video and subscribe if you haven't yet as well. It's really important to like the videos because that makes it less likely that the channel will be shadow banned later, like my other big channel got shadow banned before from about 50% of my regular viewers. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.